we're gonna have a really, really good time. Talking about things that make us laugh and make us feel alive. Red noses and silly hats, big old cars on wild tracks. Let's just talk about clowns and coasters.
Ooh, it's been a week.
It's been a week.
I'm Kyle Anderson.
I'm Alex Prather.
And we are going to talk about clowns and coasters, what makes us laugh, and what makes us feel alive. Boy, I love that so much.
That's a great saying.
It's what's in the song. It's like my favorite.
That was just the way you said it. It was a good tagline. We're going to talk about things that make us laugh and make us feel alive.
Yeah. So what is making you feel alive? Hey, let's get to the notes. Let's get to last week's work.
I like that we don't take any time to get started. You're like, we're in, get to the notes. We got stuff to talk about. We're not going to piddle around. I'm just being friends.
I got to monitor sound levels over here. I got to make sure I'm looking at the right part. I put my little roller coaster on in the background. This is my little Millennium Force model.
Nice.
Baker Mayfield, because whatever.
That's nice.
And you got your little decorations. What is in your background?
What's in my background? I got 4 books. Well, first of all, it's just all in my trunk. It's in my first clown.
I like it.
Clown
it's your
trunk.
Clown trunk.
Yeah, it's my first clown trunk. So I got some clown books. I got some hats. I got like 3 bowlers in there. I got my backpack full of juggling stuff for my street show. Yeah.
Cool.
There's a bunch of balloons and other things in there too, but they're kind of hidden.
Oh, BT Dubs, I totally noticed. What were we watching? Despicable Me, the original. And they made a little balloon dog, and it had 2 ears. And I'm like, Alex told me that they don't have 2 individual ears. Unless you're a witch.
I'm sure there's a way to do it, but like the general, like if you're just making a standard balloon dog, yeah, it just folds over because that's a twist. Yeah.
Dummies. I'd never seen that movie.
It's pretty good.
It's ridiculous. I
It's
really
fun.
want Vector. I liked Vector, the bad guy.
Yeah. It's been a minute.
I imagine it's been a minute for everyone other than me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was.
But it's a good movie. It's real like heartfelt with the kids.
It was. I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Alex, what'd you do?
To the notes.
To the notes.
Okay, last week's work. I was supposed to work on 3 routines, and you were supposed to practice interviews. Did you practice your interviews?
I sure did. Well, I practiced interviews on a slider.
Right.
How did you like vlogged your whole experience?
I did. I just started a clown. That's kind of a clown vlog. It's kind of just me talking and being me.
It's fantastic. I was watching it. You're a really good juggler.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I was just talking about this. I think I said it to you, but I've also said it more and more. I'm having this weird thing where I started learning to juggle so that I could, because I was like, clowns juggle, that'll be fun, when I wasn't really sure what a clown was. And then as I was learning about clowning, I was like, okay, clowns don't need to juggle. They can, great, whatever. But then I also just want to become a good juggler. Now it's in my
because it's fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a skill that I want to have now. So I'm having this weird thing where I'm picturing doing shows, and I have to decide if I'm doing a clown show specifically or if I'm doing a juggling show. And I can utilize clown in the juggling show, but then it's not the same thing because I'm not my clown character necessarily. I'm doing juggling in funny ways. I'm being a comedic juggler, but that's not the same thing as being Sonder the clown who juggles. So it's just interesting.
Oh, why? That's fascinating to me. What's the difference?
Because there's a, sort of an innocence. I mean, the thing I'm going to share is about clown logic and what that means.
Yeah, that phrase alone on the notes is fantastic.
And so Alex the juggler isn't going to use the same kind of logic. I'm going to be able to just talk to people in a different way, and I'm going to be able to make jokes in a way that a clown, as in my clown, I won't. I won't just joke as a clown, but I can be funny as a juggler.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Or it has maybe something to do with communicating with the audience.
A little bit, yeah. Well, it has to do with communicating with the audience in a different way. But real quick, for a better example of what I mean by like a funny juggler, look up, and don't obviously do this now because we're recording a thing, but look up Michael
I'm gonna
Davis.
do it. Michael Davis.
Michael
I'll just
Davis.
write
I can remind you later, but really funny juggler. He's on YouTube.
Cool.
Yeah, he's just really funny, but he's a
Funny
juggler.
juggler.
Yeah, and but he's not a clown, and so like there's a difference there, like. So, but I did work on my 3 routines that I talked about last time. They'll be on the vlog that comes out this coming Wednesday.
Oh,
I actually like show clips of me working on them so that you can kind of get a feel for what those routines are.
And this
So.
is Sonder the Clown.
Sonder the Clown on YouTube. Yeah.
Cool.
So.
Michael Davis. So yeah.
So
okay,
I did it.
so
I did
was
good.
wondering this last. Is Sonder the Clown? Do you talk?
My inclination is away from it. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. It'll depend on what the show is. It depends on what I'm gonna do. Cause like I'll talk some.
Yeah. So, where is there like a line between mime and clown?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So a good example is Slava Polonin, who has this great thing called Snow Show. I quoted him like on the first podcast, the first episode. But he talks about how he started as a mime. I think a lot of clowns start as mimes because that's this art form. Then we go, I must create art. And then they realized, Slava said it best. He was like, the mime has to be perfect.
Okay, I remember you saying.
Yeah,
that.
the mime has to be perfect, and the clown specifically doesn't. And so, like, the mime does a show that's fully self-contained, and they create a world, and they do all this stuff, and the clown is able to, like, talk to the audience, and not necessarily talk to them, but interact with them. They make eye contact with the audience. They don't have to be perfect if, in fact, they're supposed to kind of fail at everything, and, like... So it's a very distinct... Like, clowns use mime in their performances, and mimes can be funny. But there's a difference between clowning and
that's
miming as an art
That's a
form.
very, well said difference. I
Yeah.
get that. Cool. Yeah, so I did practice some interview shooting on my slider. I wish I could show you video, but I totally use my cats as subjects. All the time.
That's hilarious.
So cats
I would
just,
love
like,
to see
sitting
cats.
up on the cat tree, and I'm just like, okay, you're not gonna move. That's cool. So I'm like sliding, just trying to keep Kitty in frame.
That's so
Just
funny.
sliding back and forth. So my biggest, what I discovered was throughout, most of the movement. So I'm going from left to right on the slider, and in the slider, it's behind me. I'm not going to bring it up on camera because it's complicated, but it's a slider that can mount to a tripod. So it can be mounted in, this is weird to explain, kind of like explaining roller coasters, but it's not just one long rail.
Sure.
Or one long set of rails that it slides on. It moves like on different levels. So yeah, it like as the camera's sliding on the slider, so too is the slider physically moving the other way. So it can basically double its length when it's on a tripod.
Sure.
Which is very handy and very compact, and I like it. But the problem is it does tend to slant a bit when you get to the end. No matter how, I tightened up the tripod like crazy. So once I get to one end, it does kind of slant. So I'm like, all right. So I don't go quite to the end, and which is actually okay if I don't go quite all the way to the end, because I'm always apt to hit the thing, and it's never smooth once it hits the end.
Right.
I wish there was a way to just, if I had the little modules that are like, hundreds of dollars that can mount onto it, you can, soft land those things and just move it. But doing that manually is like, okay, I can't even go all the way to the end.
Sure.
Which sucks because it like limits my movement, but at the same time, I'm not good. This is like the B cam, so I'm not gonna use this for anything other than cutaways. So as long as most of the time it looks acceptable. That's a fine ratio for me, as long as I can get a few cutaways on the slider.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm feeling good about it.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thank you. And don't know quite when that's going to be put into use. I think
With the
April.
with the singer, right? The opera singer.
She's had to like bump back recordings and stuff.
Sure.
It's looking like April. Fingers crossed.
Nice. That's not too far away.
It's not too far away. I'm really excited about it.
April's close. Also, I apologize if there's a weird noise because my cat is purring.
There's a cat purring.
So,
cats are like standing at bay over here. They're like not bothering me, which is fine.
yeah. That's a win.
All right.
Cool.
Hot topics.
Hot topics.
What are you doing?
Okay. So,
You have a link.
My hot topic, I do, because I had to bring it up, and I should be able to, like, switch my face cam over to it so you can see a couple of pictures and stuff, but, once it loads, because the internet.
We got internets
Yeah.
problems.
So, really, and it's kind of a hot topic, it's kind of just me talking about a show that's being done, it was being done at the end of February, opened February 19th.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even really know how long it ran, and it's nowhere near me, so I can't even, like, go see it. But I wanted to talk about it because it's a cool, interesting thing.
Yeah.
Because it's described as, I think it's in San Francisco, but it's described as a pro-immigrant sci-fi magical realism human cartoon opera.
That was the most wonderful sentence ever uttered. Say that again. Okay, I'm gonna put it on the screen.
It's on my screen, so you can see the full of it.
Pro-immigrant sci-fi magical realism human cartoon opera with a question mark.
Yeah, no, they don't even really know what they're talking about. And it's a clown show because it's an opera, but, like, it's all mime. Like, there's no actual talking.
Whoa. How is it pro-immigrant? Like, what are they... Is it like a protest? Is it like a...
It's about intergalactic asylum seekers fleeing to the presumed safety of planet Earth, but ending up in a totalitarian nightmare.
Okay. So symbolically, it's... Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So, it's...
That sounds wackadoo buckaroo, man.
The person that came up with it is the director of the San Francisco Clown Conservatory. So...
Clown Conservatory.
And it's a long interview, and it's about clowning and about just interesting things, but yeah.
Well,
anyway,
that's cool.
So that's a show that's happening, and I thought that was fun.
That sounds fascinating. Well, cool.
So that's all I got.
My hot topic is, kind of half-assed internet research, but I mean, this is obvious. Amusement parks are shutting down in Asia.
Yeah.
Due to the coronavirus. So Disney shut down all their parks. They got parks in Hong Kong, Shanghai, Tokyo. Those are the ones I know of. There are probably more. They're shutting down at least until, I think it was March 15th, I want to say. So hopefully in the spring, when it's a little warmer, this virus will subside and not become a global pandemic. But if you want to keep that mindset, don't listen to the New York Times Daily podcast. All I'm going to say about that, moving on before I cry out of fear. It could get bad, that's all I'm saying. But until then, who cares? Whatever. I'm just...
Until then, who cares?
Until then, let's not
That sounds
worry
exactly
about it.
like the mindset that leads to the pandemic.
You're probably right. And, yeah, people probably had that mindset. Too late.
Yeah.
Don't know. Oh, well. Fingers crossed. And moving on.
I like that our hot topics today were so short. It was like, hey, These are things we can't talk about them much because they'll make us sad. Let's keep going.
But they're interesting. It is
They
kind
are
of scary.
interesting.
I just don't. Ooh, goodness gracious, do I not want that to happen in America?
Oh, yeah.
Because I got some coasters I got to ride this, and I also want my fellow people to be safe and not sick. But also roller coasters. I want to do those.
Sure. Are there a lot? I guess you don't know really. Are there a lot of like big theme park roller coasters in Asia?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially in Japan. Japan has probably one of my top bucket list parks. Fuji-Q Highland and Nagashima Spotland. Going back to last week, we talked about Millennium Force. The ride that beat Millennium Force for tallest roller coaster in the world is in Japan, is at Nagashima Spotland, and it only beat it by like 5 feet, and like just a few months after. So it's annoying, but it also looks like an awesome ride.
Sure.
It is called Steel Dragon 2000, and if memory serves, I believe that is still the world's longest roller coaster. So absolutely, gotta do
Wow.
that.
Nice.
Yeah, so gotta get to Japan and China.
I've always wanted to go to Japan.
Yeah, Japan looks awesome. Just in general, it looks like a
Yeah.
freaking cool place. And also Tokyo Sea, which is shut down until March or middle of March. That's been shut down, but that looks like, and from what that was a good silent sneeze.
Oh
So-
no, I muted my mic. It was not silent.
Oh, you
it was
muted.
very
You got
loud.
like a mute thing. Very
Yeah.
nice.
I saw it coming. I was like, "There's no way this isn't going to be the
It's like,
worst."
I didn't hear that at all. Good job. I bet that hurt, but okay.
No, it was fine.
Tokyo Sea looks like the freaking coolest theme park. Like, when you talk about a park that just goes all out on theming, like the rides and stuff, they don't look absolutely extreme intense like I'm one that I usually go for.
Sure.
But just the amount of sheer effort and engineering and imagination that goes into some of those creations at Tokyo Sea
Right.
look freaking phenomenal, and I want to go check
Nice.
that out. So let's get that under control, world scientists, please.
Please now.
Not that I'm gonna go to Japan or China anytime soon,
Sure.
but someday.
Someday.
So Alex, in something to share, you wrote down the phrase "clown logic."
Yeah.
I am interested in that.
Yeah.
Tell me
So,
about clown logic.
and I wrote down a bunch of quotes.
I like quotes.
5 from my clown training book by John Davison, and then 1 I forgot to cite the source, and so I have no idea where it's from, and I feel bad
So
because
it's a lie.
someone said it, and I liked it enough to write it down, but not enough
good.
to write down who said it. So
That's okay.
you know.
What'd they say?
So I'll start with John Davison's stuff because he's great.
Cool.
So he first, I mean, it's throughout different chapters he wrote these quotes. Like there wasn't just a chapter on clown logic. So it's you got to kind of parse it together, piece it together. But
Cool.
so the first quote is: "Logic is essential to clowns, but not in any special way that is different to non-clowns. There's no such thing as a separate clown logic. Logic is logic."
Okay.
Okay.
I like that.
So let's see. And then, do you want to talk about each of these individually, or do you want to piece them all together and then talk about them?
Yeah, just go through all of them.
Okay, that's the first quote. Then, clown logic does not have an essential meaning other than to contradict the environment in which the clown appears. Quote 2. Quote 3. Clowns might be crazy, but weird in this sense they are not. Clowns are as normal, if not more so, than non-clowns.
Okay.
Quote
Definitely
4.
Come back to that one.
Yeah. Quote 4. Clowns are content to play infinitely with the rules and thus take up no permanent political or ideological position. They are constantly responding to and contradicting the context, which is constantly changing.
Okay.
And then quote 5, which is the reason I started writing about clown logic, and then I put all these other quotes in there. In brief, clown is not a shortcut to escapism. Only by accepting and coming to terms with reality does the clown truly free himself from the weight of materiality.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some good stuff.
That's some heavy stuff.
Some
So
heavy
clown logic
stuff.
does not have an essential meaning other than to contradict the environment in which it appears. Okay, that is interesting. Elaborate.
On which one?
Could you? The second one.
To contradict the environment in which the clown appears. So basically, you were looking. Now you got a cat. You were looking as a clown for. And so he also wrote about. He had what he called the Encyclopedia of Wrongness.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
and so
want to know about that.
the idea is that it's not that there's always something wrong with clowns, right?
Well, yeah.
Something has to be at odds with the clown for it to work. So the idea is they have to somehow contradict. So like the idea of, okay, I have a chair, I have to somehow sit in that chair, right?
Yeah.
But something has to go wrong with that. So like the idea is that like the mindset of the clown is let's go back to the example of you and me doing the improv where you had a badger as your hair and I was giving it a massage.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's go back to that.
So the idea was I can basically talk about all of these different things with that one example.
That's
But
perfect.
so first of all, clown logic isn't different than regular logic, right? So like the idea is I still had to massage the badger's shoulders.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the clown said, because I am clown, the badger is a different thing than it is. It was still a badger. Like that was still the fact of the matter, right?
Yeah. Okay. So it's
So logic is still,
to
so
this.
like that's why when he says logic is logic, he means like if you see a chair, you want to sit in that chair. Right? Like that's the goal. Like you don't see a chair and necessarily say, I must clown the chair. No, you still want to sit in the chair. Like the logic of getting from one place to another is still basically the same, right?
So clown the chair is not an article in the Encyclopedia of Wrongness.
No.
Clown the blank.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You need to clown the blank.
Clown the blank. No, that's not a thing. So, but when we come back to contradicting the environment, so like one of the things you do is something needs to feel off about that chair, right? So you want to contradict the environment. It's complicated. Where's my book? So
frustrated. I gotta go to the book.
I gotta go to the book.
Can't do too many of those.
So, because it comes down to things being incorrect, like something being too big or too small, or you wanting to sit in the chair, and so you sit incorrectly because you're trying to do it correctly. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
yes, it does.
you want to find these. It's the idea of like why clowns wear big baggy clothes. There has to be a contradiction. There has to be something like the clothing is wrong.
The theme of what I get from you most of the time is just like making things inconvenient, making the obvious thing hilariously inconvenient.
Right.
Which was your idea. I think like the best example that I remember you telling me is when you talked about the juggling routine. Now you've since enhanced this and evolved it, but it was like the thing was in your routine, you literally couldn't hold on to a ball.
Right.
They wouldn't stay in your hand. So no matter what, they would just pop out or go somewhere. It wouldn't stay.
Yes. And that's still a routine. It's just not one that I worked on this week. So the mischievous ball is not the same thing because that routine I call learning to juggle.
Ball. Learning to juggle. Okay.
And so like that one is like literally I can only hold one ball at a time. And so when I try and put the second ball in my hand, the other one falls out. So my brain says
only one, yeah.
If I want to hold two balls at once, I have to toss one at a time, and so then I keep one ball in the air because that means I'm holding two balls, right?
Okay, they're just not hitting the ground.
They're just not hitting the ground, which is all I'm trying to do in that routine. Is like, don't let the ball hit the ground. And every time I try and hold two, one hits the ground, so I have to like, oh, but if I toss, then I can keep tossing and they never hit the ground.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you are clowning the balls.
No, I'm trying to hold the ball.
You're trying to hold. I know. I'm kidding.
That's the thing. And then through
Okay.
that process, clowning occurs because I'm not good at holding the ball.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
I get that. So the last quote. In brief, a clown is not a shortcut
Yeah.
to escapism.
So basically, this comes back to this idea of like, and this is kind of where we were different because we were doing improv with clown from a clown perspective, or yeah. So basically, that what he's talking about at this point is he's like, clowning is not you trying to escape reality. You can only deal with reality by clowning. Does that make sense? So like, it's the idea is that like the chair doesn't have to fly. The chair can be a chair. I have to deal with the reality of sitting in that chair, not trying to make magic of that chair.
Oh, see,
because that's a different
So
thing.
in improv, we would probably excel, or we would, we would be in kind of a hyper reality.
Yeah, we would
where
escape a
that's-
little bit.
Yeah, we would okay.
But with,
like in a clown, that is a chair. You just don't know how to chair
Right.
as a clown.
And
You're
and
gonna-
and there's a chance that the chair doesn't know how to chair either. And so
Okay.
like you can have a chair, and this is like a prop joke of like the chair is broken, so when you sit in it, all of the legs fall out from under it, right?
all right.
Like, so that's the thing. You can chair. I can chair properly. I can be like, I know how to chair. I'm gonna sit on that chair, and the chair goes out.
Oh,
'cause
so
there's
now the
still a
chair is
contradiction.
clowning you.
Yes. Yes, I'll take that.
Okay. All right. Good.
So, yeah. So anyway, that whole like concept of just like where you set your mind as a clown is not necessarily different from how you set it in reality. You're just leaning into the play of it. Does that make sense?
Yes. So, if I were to just kind of really haphazardly create a routine out of like a chair that breaks,
Yeah.
it'd be like, you need to sit in the chair. You're
Mm-hmm.
tired. You got to sit in the chair. Chair breaks. Don't know how to fix a chair. I don't remember how it looks, but I can still manage to sit. I do have some string, and I do have some other things. Maybe I suspend the chair from the ceiling in a very complex way. Or
Yeah,
like you
absolutely.
just make it like you try to sit, but in a way that's because that's your goal. That's a
Yes.
normal logical thing. But like you don't know how to make a regular chair, so let's make the most hilariously inconvenient chair of all time.
Right. So that's a direction to go. Or you can try and fix
Cool.
the chair and not fix the chair correctly, which leads to you having to do more things to try and fix the chair. So like if you have to fix the chair, which means you have to find nails, but the nails you have to take out of another chair instead of just sitting in that chair.
Ah.
Right. So you keep
And then
having these
suddenly
options.
you got enough nails that you can build a house to sleep in, but not sit. So you
but
still
not
got a
sit.
problem.
Yeah. So like there's another quote that I do not know where I got it. But it said clowns are not little kids, but clown has the logic of children.
Okay,
Right.
I was thinking that earlier because I'm like, this is exactly what those little mind game tests that they do on kids with like the bus.
Yeah.
Like they know, nah, never mind. Like kids think differently just because they don't have all those,
Right.
patterns
They don't have
built
all
into them
they don't
over
have
years.
all the
Yeah.
weight of trying to get it like
They don't
there's
have
only
the
one way to do
vast
it.
weight of knowledge bogging them down.
Like, yeah. So like basically it's like solving you want to genuinely solve a problem, but in that process you're going to create new problems, right? Like
Great.
that's
Okay.
the whole premise of clowning. Not really, but like that is a very that's a specific mindset that is a clown mindset of like I want to solve the problem. It's not that I want to create more problems. The clown
Oh,
wants
yeah.
to solve the problem, But in doing that, because they're a little short-sighted most of the time, they're only interested in the thing in front of them. It tends to lead to more problems.
Absolutely. I mean, we totally get this because I could see us doing this in improv, but like because we can bend reality a little differently because it's miming.
Right.
We could have made the chair. Well, turns out I got 2 rockets. Let's make the chair hover. Oh,
right.
That doesn't work. Well, now we're going to space. Turn the rockets on too back, and then we go to space.
Right.
So.
And so that's
we're sitting.
One of the reasons that it was I thought it was cool to talk about clown logic is because like it does set apart what we have done from what I am doing now, while also being very like I very inspired by what we have always done, and just taking it in a different direction.
Putting it in a more grounded setting. I think that can it's a little more tangible.
Yeah.
Because sometimes imaginations can run wild in improv.
And then people don't
Even
follow
the most
us.
Trusting partners will not know where the hell this is going.
What on earth you're doing? One of my favorite things about when we would do improv together, because we would just say yes no matter what, but we both had very different ways of saying yes if we had no idea what the other person was doing.
Sure.
And I forget, I used to talk about how different we were, but it's been so long I don't really remember. But because you would do this thing where you would turn your head and side-eye me, and you would go, yes. And it was just like, you couldn't just be like, and I would go,
look at you.
Okay.
Kind of like read you like Larry David style, just look you in the eye.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was
I'll go. Like it's like I'd always agree and we
right.
go, but like
absolutely
I'd have to like kind of play out a little.
Gotta try and get there, yeah.
Get at least a step and a half ahead.
Right.
Sort of, maybe.
Where it's much easier with clown, like if and when you and I do a clown show together, which I assume will happen eventually because
I assume so too.
It's gonna happen. Yeah. When we do that eventually, there's still a level of improv in there. Like we play within the routines. So it's not going to be necessarily perfect second for second, but it's easier. There's not ever going to be a moment where you feel like, wait, do I get where we're going? Because you'll always know where we're going because it's more grounded in that reality.
Yeah. Okay.
While still being like a lot of room to play and get things wrong that weren't the same that we practiced. Like there's still that room. So it's interesting.
Yeah, so it's cool. No, it really is just fascinating. The more we talk about this, the more we realize we were ahead of the game.
Yeah. Or behind the game, depending on which game we were playing.
depending on who was playing with us. I feel like I don't want to trash anyone.
No. But again, and I think that's
that.
I think that's important. That's why we keep talking about like what we were doing.
It's really more of an apology. It's like,
absolutely. I'm so sorry. I was clowning when you were trying to do improv.
I didn't realize. Yeah, when you guys, I was being a cartoon. You guys were being, grown-ups acting.
Yeah, you were trying to have a deep emotional connection, and I was trying to get things wrong.
Yeah. A lot.
Because that's fun. Yeah, that's the play for me.
But not to you.
So it was just
hypothetical straw man over here.
Right. Which is also why I don't improvise anymore. Like because I'm so concerned of that like difference. I
took classes at Improv Olympic here. And, it really it's all about grounding. And there's a lot of fun that can come out of that.
Sure, absolutely.
Beautiful scenes that can be really funny and really touching and really emotionally honest as well. That is something I'm glad I've done.
Right.
I'm glad I learned, and I know I can do it if I have to. It's just not my favorite.
Sure. And and that's the thing, right? Where like with clowning and clown logic, I'm not trying to not do those things, but the things I'm leaning into I'm leaning into the actual play of it. And improv as an art form in and of itself, oftentimes they're playing, but they're like, but we have to ground our play in honest emotions It's like, but so does the clown. Just the clown's emotions are much more innocent, which
Yeah,
allows
they're not as obvious.
for really leaning into the play part, not the emotion part.
Yeah.
While still being emotional, clowns are like beautiful and sad and
Yeah, and
wonderful.
they like paint sad
But
faces, right?
sometimes that's the I'm reading a new clown book where they talk about the different kinds of clowns, and that's called
Oh.
it's called the Tramp, which is like
Oh.
when we think of the Tramp, we think of Charlie Chaplin, but the Tramp as a clown is like painted on stubble. The mouth is typically sad frown instead of happy. Like the white makeup around the mouth
Yeah.
is
So that
pointed down in the Tramp, which is a type of clown.
So that is
A specific
clown
kind of thing.
archetype. I
Yeah.
guess. Is that the right word? Cool. Huh.
Yeah.
I would love to. Do you have any clown makeup ideas? Are you
No,
gonna
not
do-
yet. I'm approaching the makeup cautiously, partially because I
Okay.
don't do makeup, but partially because like there's still and we'll talk about this I'm sure at some point more, but
Coulrophobia.
coulrophobia is still such a thing that when people see the makeup, they assume one of two things. One, you're terrifying. Two, you're going to do hokey humor that's not funny. You're gonna be in silly shoes and like not that silly shoes are wrong, but like people have their misconceptions about to go
Yeah,
back to
it's
last
just-
week, what a clown will do. And if I can avoid the makeup for a while and be like, no, watch what I'm doing and then
Yeah,
apply the
be
makeup
less obvious
afterward,
about it.
then people are
Yeah.
like, oh, I see what you're getting at. And the makeup is just to enhance that.
Totally get
So
that. Great.
yeah.
Would you ever do one of these clown shows at an amusement park?
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to do some like yeah. I'm interested in all the forms of clowning right now. So I'm interested in the street performing, theater performing, circus performing, activism, like all of it. I'm like, what can I do? How do I integrate clowning into my life? So I would 100% do a theme park show.
Yeah. Well, I would totally go see that. At possibly Knoebels.
Knoebels?
Yeah, that's the park I'm going to talk about today.
Woo! Let's talk about Knoebels.
Are you good? You talked
Yeah,
about
I just wanted to talk about the concept and what it means to me and
fast.
how it
Well, cool.
works for me, and yeah, so I feel good about that. If you want to keep on trucking,
All right, let's keep on trucking. Okay, I'm going to talk a bit about Knoebels in Pennsylvania, but really I want to talk about one ride in particular there. It's called Flying Turns. And I want to talk about this ride because this ride is an absolute work of obsession. It was built, it should not exist, and I'll explain that. You'll see when as I go along.
okay. Sorry, real quick. Flying Turns is the name of the thing.
Yes, I'm sorry. Flying Turns is
Okay.
the name of the roller coaster.
Of the roller coaster.
Knoebels.
Okay,
At Knoebels. Now, Knoebels is like a campground, or it kind of feels that way. At least seems that way. You have to get like a wristband to take. You can just walk in. You can just go in. It's free. It's not like a gated admission, which is pretty unique. There's not a whole lot of parks like that anymore. And the cool thing about Knoebels is it was started by someone named Knoebel. I forgot their first name. Jeff Knoebel, we'll call him. But it's a family. It's the Knoebel family.
sure.
And this park specializes in taking old rides and revitalizing them. So they've taken one of their famous ones is Phoenix. I forgot exactly where that was before, but it was an old ride. They brought it in, they spiffed it up a little bit, and it's running. They try to maintain the historical accuracy. So they try to make all of their older rides operate more or less within reason of how they were back in the day. So they've done this with Phoenix, which is a very highly regarded wooden roller coaster, and Twister, which was in Denver, They brought Phoenix was in San Antonio, and they moved it over. And also Twister was in Denver, an old wooden roller coaster, and now or recently they have not relocated a ride, but rebirthed a ride. This is a wooden toboggan roller coaster, which do not exist. This is literally the only one. It's like,
Which, not a thing.
they were, but even back in the
Okay.
day, like in the early 20th century, they were not as common, and did not last very long and required a lot of upkeep. So this was a tall task for these people. So they designed this wooden toboggan roller coaster. Let me kind of explain what that is. There are steel toboggan roller coasters that still exist. There's one at Six Flags Over Texas called La Vibora. And those are just like rides. You're basically like you're on a toboggan. It's like a tube. What's cool about them is that the cars or trains in some cases really do freely roll down these chutes. They're not like fixed to a track. They can kind of wobble back and forth, and really you can get
That does not sound okay.
I know, they kind of feel out of control, which is crazy. So building an old wooden version of this, and I found a picture of this. There's like 3 layers of like long, thin wooden little flat wooden things that go on, and they
Flat.
I don't even know how to describe that, but they've built a wooden tube, like a semi tube that like spins around, spirals around, does some helix, has a chain lift, and just hit that. Alex, this is where I want you to come in here. So they started building this ride in 2006.
Okay.
Now, this ride is not very tall. I believe it's not even like 50 feet tall. It's not very long. It's pretty small. It's all wood. And it has, I believe it's a 3-car train. And I believe it's so it's just a single rider per car. I think. It's just, so it's very low capacity.
Okay.
How long do you think from the first groundbreaking in 2006 to ready to be open to the public? How long do you think that is? I'll give you some context here. The best roller coasters that come out, the highest budget, less than a year. They can usually do it during the off season. It's like we'll say 9 months. It's probably a guess, but yeah, that's probably a good average. 9 months to build a gigantic steel whatever, like on the best case scenario. So this is a family run park. They don't have the income of like Cedar Point. It's just like one family owns this. How long do you think from this team, this Knoebels team, and they built this all in-house, how long do you think, 2006, to when it was ready to be opened?
It's gonna be long because you're asking me.
You're right.
I know that I would. Remember that Futurama where Fry's like, you wouldn't have asked if it wasn't really short or really long.
Yeah.
That's
So
where I'm at right here.
It took 5 days. You're right. No.
Yeah. 2006. 2008.
Longer.
2009.
Longer.
2012.
That is close.
Overshot.
I think it was probably ready in 2012, but it didn't officially open to the public until 2013. Yeah.
That's so long. That's so much work.
So long, and the amount of stuff they had to do this. So it's for a little context here, I wrote this down. So it's based off of the Flying Turns, which was in Riverside Park in Chicago many years ago. It's actually only the actual location of Riverside Park is only a couple miles from where I live. And they actually have the street lights and traffic lights have like those little flyers on them. Say like I forget the name of the neighborhood. I think it's near Roscoe Village, but they have like Riverside Park and pictures. There's like pictures of flying turns in this neighborhood, which is cool. Would be nice if it was actually still there, but whatever. Riverside Park no longer exists, but it was the one Knoebels designed it or based it on was the one designed by John Bartlett and John A. Miller.
Ah, the Johns.
Well, John Miller is a very well-known, like turn of the century. They were both called the Thomas Edison of roller coasters.
Like,
so they are.
so like individually, like John Bartlett was a Thomas Edison. John Miller, now he's the Thomas Edison. Or like together as one person, they were the Thomas Edison.
Yes, we'll call it. I think it's more John Miller.
Okay.
John Miller's John Miller and John Allen were another one. John Bartlett, I've never heard that name, but John Miller's a very well-known name. He's still got rides all over the country that still exist, and that's a lie. I'm not gonna say anything I don't know. But yeah, they're old wooden roller coasters. He really was a pioneer of those. So, but they built a bunch of these wooden toboggan roller coasters, and the one in Chicago is the one that Flying Turns is based on. Now, Flying Turns, why I love this ride is that I haven't ridden it. I'll be honest, but I've seen a lot of POVs, a lot of pictures, a lot of people talking about it. It's small, but it does look wacky and out of control, which is cool, is fun for a coaster enthusiast such as myself. It really like rocks back and forth, and like I'd imagine if you're going on it on this wooden structure that's probably unsettling to like these little bitty cars that were redesigned so many times. It looks like a fun ride. It looks small, and it looks, it's not the biggest, it's not the craziest, most intense, but it is a work of passion, and I think that's what I love about it. The fact that, like, had Six Flags attempted this, or pretty much any other thing, it would not have been financially viable. Like, after year 2, if it even got that long. It's like, if you can't get this done in 2 years, scrap it. Sorry, try again.
Right.
Pretty much, that'd be, I'd imagine, a pretty industry standard. Like, if you couldn't get this ride to work. But they worked at this for so many years. They had to
7 years.
Yeah, 7 years of reprofiling the track, adding and subtracting cars from the train. Do we even need a train? Should it be just like a single rider? Well, if it's a single rider, like, the capacity is going to be garbage. So, like, what's the point? And so finally, after all of this, but like, can you imagine like the amount of obsession? Like, years, that's big hulking wooden thing would just be sitting there. And I'm happy they finally got it going, but that's insane to me. So I think just at very least, the tip of the cap to these people who, that's what I was gonna find. There's the sign. Hold on, I'm gonna get this right. Pause. I also have a cat on me, pausing. Meow! Yeah, I also have a cat. This is
like a good edit.
Yeah, like a good edit. Oh, here it is. Pause and still. Pause and back from pause. Oh, the sign out front of Flying Turns says, "Flying Turns Knoebels, a trackless roller coaster, the only one in the world. They told us we couldn't build it, but we did it anyway."
That's wonderful.
Right? We did it
What
anyway.
a big middle finger to everyone else.
Exactly.
Like, don't tell me.
By all rights, this ride should not exist at all.
That's amazing.
Multiple years of like obsessive, got to get this right, got to make this safe, and they did it. So that's cool. My fellow roller coaster dorks, obsessed, made a ride that hasn't existed in close to 100 years. Recreated it. That's cool.
That's amazing.
Yep. Knoebels sounds like an awesome place that I really want to go to.
And that's in Pennsylvania?
In Pennsylvania, like kind of middle of the north. I think it's in the eastern part. Pennsylvania in general, just, if you want to talk about states with the best roller coasters, that's got to be top 3 or 4. They got it going on over there.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything else you would like to know?
That's I had
That's
a question.
all right.
I had a. That's interesting.
The tale of the obsession, the roller coaster that Obsession built.
That's so.
And I've been on these. I've been on 2 bobsled roller coasters in my life. One of which was indoors, and it's
Indoors.
Indoors. Cedar Point used to have an indoor bobsled ride called Disaster Transport, and the YouTube channel Defunct Land has a whole freaking documentary on this ride. It's a wacky ride, but it sucked. I did not enjoy it, just because it was indoors. I don't know. I think you need to be outside. You need to see the fact that you're on this track to be wobbling back and forth. And like some of the little brake runs, because they'll have like side friction tracks that'll guide you into like a brake run. But those, what's crazy about those is that the track, the tube around you, when it goes into the brake run, will go away. So you'll just be, you're not surrounded by like slide anymore. You're basically going down a slide, but when you get like guided into these brake runs, that's the sides of the slide are not necessary, so you kind of go and you're like exposed after that. You like slide in these like little tiny slivers.
That seems unacceptable.
It seems that way, but like you're guided into those. But yeah, the side of the slide is not a consistent height all the way around. Yeah, and you're on wheels. It's not like a water slide. You'd think water slides, for whatever reason, these are way, way scarier than being on a water slide. Even though technically on a water slide you could stand up and jump off if you want. But like you're in a car, you're strapped in, so like you are at the mercy of the wheels and gravity. And yeah, Isaac Newton's in the driver's seat, and you're just flowing down at the mercy of this slide. So but like you can see the it's amazing how consistent they can get these, because even though it does look like you can just fly and swing around all over the place, they are fairly consistent. You can see like over time the wheels have like made grooves in the chipped away at the paint, so you can see where they go, and it's remarkably consistent. But even still,
yeah, nah.
It's on wheels.
Nah, I'm good.
Nah, you good?
I do have a quick question. We don't have to dwell on it long because we're coming up on our hour, I think.
Right.
But
That's cool.
Since it's the coaster that Obsession built, how, just generally, because I just don't know, I don't have any frame of reference, how much of like amusement park roller coaster production stuff is like, how much of that is money based and how much of it is obsession based? Because like I know for like clowning, to make a comparison, like there's not a lot of money in clowning ever, really. Like if you want to be a clown, you are doing that for the love of that, what that means. And while I understand that amusement parks are more like money and there's games and whatever, there's also still got to be they can't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Capitalism does come into play here.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean we've got to take the fact like the big crazy rides that are quote unquote blockbusters. You know, those are the ones. You know, the studio execs, I imagine, have a say.
Sure.
But I don't know. I see that going. It's hard to tell because as technology, you know, gets better, we're seeing definitely a trend towards the unexpected elements of roller coasters. I think, let's take. Well, how am I gonna? It's interesting because you see different trends through different manufacturers. I would say some manufacturers are better at taking risks, and some are more apt to play it safe. And there are definitely pros and cons to each. I'm going to just kind of compare and contrast. Ollinger and Mabillard, also no chance I'm pronouncing that correctly. We'll just call them B&M. I've heard it pronounced 100 different ways. They're a Swiss manufacturer. Yep. And also a Swiss manufacturer. Never mind. I don't know if they're actually. Anyway, Intamin is another manufacturer. They play it a little differently. Intamin can take risks. They have been known to try a little bit crazier things that are a little less well tested, that might not play to a general audience, a larger general audience, but might be a little more focused to the thrill seeker, enthusiast. An example of these two manufacturers build similar types of rides. They build tall giga coasters, roller coasters over 300 feet, which are usually, you know, they got a big tall chain lift, big long first drop, and usually a lot of airtime hills, just a lot of hills, and they're going more towards high intensity positive Gs, but in different ways. I think Intamin, in their giga coasters, at least recently, or their taller roller coasters, especially with one particular ride I'm thinking of is Fury. No, that's not right. That's B&M. What's the name? Oh, Intimidator 305 at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, Virginia. That's a ride, 305 feet, and after the first drop, goes into this insane low to the ground turn. So imagine gaining all that speed after the first drop, and you do not go uphill, so you keep all that speed on a low to the ground wide turn. So it is incredibly intense, and a lot of people gray out on this ride. Very intense. So much so that they've had to reprofile this track. After they first opened it, it did, and it still to this day starts that first turn after the first drop, low to the ground, but it now slopes upward, so it will lose speed as it goes along this turn, and then goes into a big airtime hill where you have negative Gs, and you have more of a relief from that very high intensity positive Gs.
That makes me nauseous just thinking about it. Jeez.
Yeah, it's crazy. Melanie did not, my fiance did not know that sensation of graying out. And so we went on Millennium Force, which is kind of a similar ride, that does have some positive Gs, not nearly as much. But she was like really taken aback by that experience. We're like, yeah, your vision starts to like fade because blood is being pushed out of your skull.
Unacceptable. That's unacceptable.
You are not.
Oh.
The ride that for me that does this the most is Titan at Six Flags Over Texas, because it has two crazy positive G.
Okay.
Helices.
Is that the ride that I rode?
Over Texas? Did you ride Titan?
Because I went with a group of guys and I'd never been on a roller coaster.
I remember that.
And someone specific said you need to go all the way. You need to dive in because that's anything after
Nonsense.
that is chill. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make sense. But I did it, and I don't know if it was Titan. It might have been what else is there? Describe to me what's the
was
names.
Was it a big giant orange roller coaster?
Yeah.
Yeah, you went on Titan.
Oh god, I was nauseous for 6 hours. At least half the day, I spent the day just like green and wandering.
That's a bad friend. I know it wasn't me.
No, it was. No, I won't. I won't name drop. But
I know.
Yeah.
I think I know who it was. But,
yeah. So it was.
Yeah, that's.
And we weren't super close at that point. I don't think.
No,
we weren't buds like we are now. So like you couldn't.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't have the confidence to be like, hey, bad idea. Stay out.
Hey,
don't do it.
This really terrible thing.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Watching Melanie, watching my fiance, she's had two. I've one in particular. I got her on a bad ride experience that she genuinely. It wasn't a roller coaster. It was a drop ride. So now we know no more drop rides.
Ugh.
Ooh, I got a whole thing about. I love.
Oh, I'm sure. I also have thought of a question, but it will be a big discussion, and we don't have time for it. Fine. So I will save it for another day, another coaster conversation.
Oh yeah, kind of getting back to my very long-winded response, but
sure.
So, that's Intimidator 305 by Intamin. Did not see the same general public love for that ride as a Giga Coaster, say, by B&M. B&M they make great roller coasters, but I'm not going to say they play it safe, and that's kind of to their advantage. They're very well known for having very, 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 very reliable, very pleasant general public experiences on their roller coasters. So it's very good, and they're also very good with capacity. Their rides crank through guests like crazy. So parks love them, but because they do play it a little bit safer, sometimes their rides, some of their more recent ones can be a little forceless. Not Intimidator 305, or not Fury 325. That's one that, from what I hear, is push some limits, which we can go through a whole span of these, of like trends of these particular manufacturers. But in general, Intamin can kind of suffer from that. Some of their rides either decline in popularity or they are removed, whereas B&M throughout their entire history has had, as far as I know, 2, maybe 3 roller coasters that don't exist anymore in there. And they've existed since like the 90s, since early 90s. They built a lot of, they're very well known. And they've only had, because Dueling Dragons at Universal Islands of Adventure in Orlando is no longer there. And there doesn't seem to be any plans to rebuild it. And there might have been one old stand-up roller coaster, I think, that might not still exist. But really, that's it. Their rides last and are generally loved by everyone for the most part. Whereas Intamin can be like, they can be more extreme. They can be. So yeah, there is definitely something about the industry trends influencing the rides. Whereas I think, going back to Intamin, that was probably built by obsessed, junkies, coaster junkies who want that positive G's. More so. To the point where it wasn't quite as viable to the general public at large, so they had to change it.
Right.
But it's nice to know that obsession and like people who love this and just want to make crazy stuff because they can, that does break through. And I think we're seeing that more and more now with 2 companies in particular. I think S&S and obviously Rocky Mountain Construction, which I talked about
Yeah.
last week. They're doing wacky, wild stuff that has not been tested and has never been done before, and they're just throwing it out. And so far, they're all, especially Rocky Mountain Construction, is batting 1,000. I don't think they have a bad ride in their collection. So
Nice.
there's room for that. I think there's definitely
Cool.
room for crazy artistic weirdness and obsession.
Right.
That is financially viable.
Nice.
Yeah, that was my very long-winded
I like it.
response to that.
I like it.
All right. So there's some coasters.
That's it.
Coaster obsession.
I like
Built.
it. I have
Flying
I have
turds.
questions, but they will come up on different days because
Okay.
yes, I'm
You can have
intrigued.
some. Yeah, all right. We'll.
It's yeah,
We will-
they're just they. I know you, and I know they will lead to much longer
no.
conversations. It's not going to be like yes, and then you like walk away.
And then I walk away. No, I'm gonna be like, oh, there's these like 3 different
Yeah,
rides.
yeah,
and I know
yeah, yeah.
exactly where they are. And yep. I'm showing off my encyclopedic knowledge of these dumb things. I love it.
Which is nice.
So, moving on to week's work.
Week's work. Let's wrap up this podcast with some week's work.
Alex, what you got?
So
Shower. I see on the notes it says shower, and then the comma, and then the word snake.
yeah.
I didn't see the comma at first. Shower snake.
I need to work on my
Okay,
shower
we're moving on.
snake.
We're moving on.
That's fine. No, this week I'm specifically focusing on. So I want to do another. It's kind of a clown routine, but it's kind of not. It's kind of just like I was making that distinction earlier between clowning and juggling. I have a new thing I want to do, basically called the juggling jukebox. And
Cool.
so basically what I do is I put out like a bunch of different styles of juggling that I can do, and then for different amounts of money you can make me do that style of juggling. Like you can control my show a little bit.
That sounds
But-
great.
But to do that I need to have a good set of like noticeably different juggling patterns. And so this week I'm
Which you've been working on.
which I'm working on. So this week I'm specifically working on 4 new patterns and 1 new style of juggling.
What was the one where you cross over
Mill's Mess.
Mill's Mess? Okay,
Yeah.
That one looks really cool. And you were doing really well with that.
I'm working on Mill's Mess, but I'm right now I'm working on a modified version of it.
That's a bold move, man.
Well, it's actually
excited.
it's actually simpler because a Mill's Mess pattern involves inside throw or outside throws, which means they come in. There's a good chance that my thing to share next week is just going to be juggling terms. So
That's
just
fine.
be prepared.
I've held off on a lot of. There's
Yeah.
flowjector.
Oh, I know.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of weird roller coaster words.
it'll just be a words
Exactly. I love
podcast
that.
next
Oh,
week.
I would love that because I love that junk like that. Cool.
Yeah.
So Mill's
but
Mess.
anyway, so I'm doing a modified version because Mill's Mess involves outside throws that come in. Like so, you would toss out here, and it would go across to this other hand. And basically, what I'm doing is a columns where they just go straight up and down. And so I toss up,
Oh yeah.
and then I come around and I catch it kind of in the same spot, but the ball isn't. Anyway, that's not what I'm doing this week. Anyway, I got distracted. So I'm working on a shower, which is a very basic form. I'm working on snake, which is a really interesting pattern.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing. And then there's 2 that I'm working on that are real things, but I don't know the names for them. I kind of came up with them on my own, and I know other people have done them, but I'm trying to get them more consistent because they're things I want to do. But this is what you're gonna appreciate real quick is so European juggling is different than American style juggling.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's. Can we just make that like regional differences? Like clowns and roller coasters, because there are so many that I'm fascinated by.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely gonna it's gonna be a big
yeah.
thing next week.
That'll be
so.
my yeah. I'm gonna
Anyway, so I'm
jot
working
that
on
down.
that, and Yeah. So that's what I'm doing this week, is I'm working on 4 new patterns and 1 new style of juggling. So
Cool. That's a lot. I have got to learn After Effects more so than I do now. Adobe After Effects. So Adobe Premiere, I feel pretty comfortable with. I've been editing on it for a while. But anytime I have to like make some kind of motion graphic in After Effects, I get real overwhelmed really quick.
Yeah.
And it's something I've kind of been putting off for a while, and just I've flown under the radar. I've been able to get by without it, and now it's catching up with me. And there's no excuse anymore. I've got to learn.
the time has come.
Yeah, back and front, more than just basic After Effects. I want to create some motion graphics and really get into like also graphic design in general. Just become more familiarized with that.
Amazing.
So I have a couple of courses that were that I had. One of them I tried a long time ago and don't really like it. So I have a new course. There's a big sale that I just got like basically courses, video courses on all the Adobe suite. So I'm definitely gonna hit the After Effects hard. Learn some motion graphics.
Amazing. Okay.
Cool.
That's good. Final
That was
thoughts.
good. How long do we go?
We're at 1:15 on my video, but
All right,
we
I guess
started
that's about where
we started about 5 minutes late. So
we're. Okay.
So
Well,
it's
that's
really
where
about
we're
110. It's a
We're
good.
consistent.
We're consistently 110.
All right. Any more final
Thoughts.
Nah, I'm good.
Don't slap the bear with honey on your hands.
Don't slap the bear with honey on your hands. And on that note, this has been Clowns and Coasters. Theme song.
Play us out. We just had a really, really good time. Talked about things that make us smile and make us feel sublime. Juggling balls and silly shoes, barrel rolls and loop-de-loops. We just talked about clowns and coasters.